What is up, guys, and welcome to episode 12 of the Dad's Life podcast. I'm your host, Sean Flack 2.0. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about customer service, or the lack thereof. It is the week of Valentine's, so I'd like to know what you're getting your significant others Valentine's. And of course, it is February. It is Black History Month. Growing up in Oakland, it was a big deal, and it still is a big deal. Just want to share a little story I had about that. And before we get into today's topics, just a little check-in about this past week. Shout out again to Aaron Goodard 7 on Twitter. Basically always plugging the show. So really shows a lot of support to the show. So I do appreciate you. So again, another shout out to her. Check her out. She's the math mom. I call her the math mom because she does a lot of math stuff with her kids. If you haven't checked her out, check her blog. You can follow her on Twitter at Aaron Goodard 7. So again, she's shown the show a lot of love, so I always want to, shout out folks that are showing a lot of support. Let's see, the kids are sick, but that's kind of like the life of preschool, so kind of anything new there. And then this past Thursday, we actually recorded episode 7 of the Practical Pivot Show, which is me and my co-host Mike T. And we talk about making changes. This past week's topic was New Year, New You in 5 steps. Revolved a little bit around health. And again, I'm not a health nut person, but I am a plus size model. So I've tried a bunch of different health things and I brought up some topics and just to bullet point things on health when it comes to making changes. So go ahead and check that out. I'll make sure I leave links to those down below. And that's basically that was going on for me this week. So, I'd like to definitely hear how your guys' weeks are going. Hopefully it was great. And thank you for taking time to listen to the show. So let's just get right into today's topics. Obviously, it is the 11th. It is Monday when I'm doing the recordings. So this Thursday coming up is Valentine's Day. My personal take and the wife's personal take, this is a truly consumerist holiday. I really don't know too much history behind it, but, our take is, love should be shown throughout the year, not just one day of the year. So Valentine's Day, you get the stuff for the kids to take to school and blah, blah, blah. But other than that, for the most part, we're not big Valentine's Day folks. The other cool thing is about not being Valentine's Day folks is you don't got to go to restaurants that are highly overpriced or anything like that. You just go to them on a regular old Thursday that's not Valentine's Day, and you're not dealing with crowds, and you're not dealing with the price gouging. But for some folks, it's a cool little occasion, and I can't discount that. I can't discount the fact that some people do take it seriously. They go all out. 12 dozen roses, blah blah blah, hearts, chocolates, things like that. So I can't discount that either. I mean, it's good business, a good business day for folks, that are in the restaurant industry, that, high-end restaurants, or, they take reservations, or there'll be places that take reservations that won't normally because they just know that's going to be a big eat-out night. Now, this year it being on a Thursday, and I don't know if it's always on a Thursday. I highly doubt it, though. But, so you never know. People might wait till the Friday or the Saturday to celebrate or go out on those fancy dinners or whatever. But I kind of expect, folks will take that Thursday to kind of wine and dine their significant others. For us, like I said, not a big thing, but it's just interesting that this particular Thursday, or we should, I ended up getting the wife an accessory for a truck that should come tomorrow, and then we're going to get it installed on Thursday. So just so happens, happy Valentine's Day to the wife. But it's something we were planning on getting anyway for the truck. And if you don't know, my wife is a big truck person. I am not. I drive a really small car. I drive a 2011 Scion XB. Excuse me. And she drives a huge truck, and she loves it, and she's like this little lady that jumps out, and she has to jump in and out of it, but she loves it, so, that's what we ended up getting for her. Excuse me, like I said, the kids are sick, and so it looks like I'm coming down with a little bit of a throat thing. So that's my take on Valentine's Day. Like I said, it just so happens that we're getting something installed on the wife's truck on Valentine's Day. So yeah, just kind of want to bring that up. I want to know, what are you guys doing for Valentine's Day, if anything, or are you like us? It's not really just a big deal for us. So but I don't know if it's like relating or whatever, but every time Black History Month comes up, it always reminds me a story of my dad. So, kind of want to talk about Black History Month and, growing up in Oakland, big thing, when I remember a particular time when we were in middle school, I was in choir or whatever it was, whatever class it was, we had to do a performance, or not a performance, but like more like a monologue or a soliloquy or something like that, where we picked, a famous person's speech. And, I picked, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. And, I'm at home, and my dad's hearing me listen to this, or, rehearse the speech over and over and over again. And, he makes a comment. Now, mind you, my dad was born in 1929, so I'm sure he was around somewhere around this time that all this was happening. And I don't know if he made it a joke or not, or whatever the case was. But, he was like, well, why did Dr. King say one day? One day. And he'd always say that. He said, why one day? It should be all days. And I don't know if he was making fun or, whatever the case was. But I just remember that very vividly. He was like, we should want peace all days. We should want that all days. And don't ask me to quote the speech or anything at this point. I just remember going over it over and over and over again. And he didn't pull me to the side, but he made that comment, like, why is it only one day? And I think he made a joke out of like, the semantics of it all. But yeah, so growing up, in Oakland, Black History Month was a big month, and every time it comes around, it always reminds me of my dad making, that one day. Why is it one day? It should be all days. It should be all days. And every time, like, I come across something like that reminds me of my dad, I definitely want to share it with you guys. This is the Dad's Live podcast, and yeah, I don't know, it was a fun memory. He was just sitting there watching me rehearse. And, I'm like trying to, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. And, he just made the comment, and, I just thought it was interesting. And it stuck with me all these years, So, yeah, happy Black History Month. And let's kind of get into the meats and potatoes of kind of like what the episode is about today. The main thing is customer service. I want to talk about it. I come from a background of customer service. Like, I worked at McDonald's, was my first job. I say I went from McDonald's to like working at a warehouse. Then a warehouse, I went to go work at Walmart. Walmart, I went to go work for this magazine delivery company. From there, I went to go work for Foot Locker. From Foot Locker to GameStop, or I guess it was but it wasn't called GameStop. I think it was called EB Games, Electronics Boutique. So EB Games, and then they got bought out by GameStop, and then Verizon, and then, where I currently am. So a lot of customer service. And, me and the wife, we've been eating out quite some time or whatever to some of the restaurants, not necessarily in our city, but in the city over or two cities over. And the customer service has just been terrible. Atrocious. And just some examples, we went to the Red Lobster. And obviously, the restaurant's not full at all. And there's like a 10-minute wait. So we're like, oh, okay, this is already a bad vibe. We finally sit down. The waiter, I guess, is the bartender. He doesn't introduce himself. Comes over. Just takes half our order, forgets the other half. It just was atrocious. And then, like a month ago or whatever, we went out to the Outback Steakhouse, and that was a mess. I guess a lot of these restaurants are going to these kiosks where they use like an electronic iPad thing they put at your table. You can pay, you can order drinks, order desserts and stuff like that. You could call for the waiter or waitress or your server or whatever. But but it's taking away from the customer service. So, at a couple places that have those, I find that the servers aren't coming around as often to check up on us. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to pay. And so, like, I kind of wave them down to, go get the check. And they're like, no, you have to pay through the Zios thing. And I say, okay, that's fine. And then it gets to the point where, they it says enter the tip you want to put. And, we eat out. And I know, servers, like, minimum wage, if you work on tips, is like $2.18 or whatever it is. Because you make tips. Now, I feel bad because I want to give a tip. Because I know that they could potentially make a really low wage. But when you really got shitty customer service, you never were around, I asked for the check, you say basically you can't help me with that either, why am I tipping you? I go to a restaurant because I don't feel like cooking, doing dishes, or any of that, refilling my drink, I will pay for that, and I'll pay a tip. But, you go into these establishments nowadays, and I'll say, who is it? I think it's Outback, Olive Garden, like all these chains we've gone to. I think Chili's, they're all going towards that little Zios thing. And, good for that company, but bad for that customer service. Like, the customer service in those cases are terrible. I will have to say that I truly believe, and this is a bunch of different places we've gone to, we've had terrible customer service. Especially when it comes to like the server and all that stuff. And I do believe that customer service really stems from manners. And, the fact that we've gone to like a digital age where we don't really interact with other people face to face, I think that affects the manners and the etiquette and, the respect and all that stuff, or being able to read a situation. And in turn, if you don't have the basic etiquette, basic manners of how to deal with people face to face, you go into a profession that requires you to deal with people face to face that may or may not be investing into training, which I think a lot of places have been not investing into training for customer service, that you're going to have a terrible customer experience. And, with the inclusion of all this technology, that's what you're getting. You're getting a lack of professionalism. You're getting a lack of common courtesy. Looking people in the eye when you speak, introducing yourself, saying thank you, you're welcome, like all these different things that normally come with normal etiquette. Now you're in a profession and you're working, and they really don't train you on them, or you haven't been, your parents haven't trained you on some of the basic stuff. And now you're out in the public struggling. And I really think it's a sign of the times as far as like automation goes. And I also feel it's a sign of the times that, some of us parents are getting really lax. And, I want to bring that customer service interaction back. I'd have to say, what made me even start thinking about this was like some like mall-based women's or girls store. I think it was like something Roos or something. Maybe one of you guys know about it. Was going out of business. And I'm like, well, I worked at Foot Locker, and, you had this whole thing, they hit the lease line, you welcome them to the store, let them know of any promotions you got going on. Introduce yourself, let them know what promotions you got going on if they had any questions, or, they needed help to find things that you made yourself available, and you were pleasant with it. And even if you were having a bad day, you still had to go through this whole script thing in your head. And that was the way you made sales, because Foot Locker at the time, I don't know what it is now, but you got like 2% of everything you sold. So, you wanted to have that good rapport with the person. You wanted to be able to upsell them, but you just couldn't do it by them coming in. And, like if you were rude or whatever, they're not going to buy the socks or shoe cleaner or nothing like that. So, you really had to, if you wanted your sales to go up, you had to learn how to be pleasant. So So yeah, we so that store's going out of business, and I was like, I think going back part of it, or like, oh, pushing people to online sales is, yeah, number one, it's availability. Like sometimes you can't carry all the sizes, or you don't have all the styles, or whatever the case is. So I get it. It pushes people to online. But I also think that it's the customer experience that's lacking. That when people come into stores, the associates that are there or the servers that are there, they're not knowledgeable about the things that they're selling, or they really have a bad attitude, or anything like that. Like those are the main things. Like we went to when we were looking at the truck, because we just got the truck recently. We went to a bunch of different dealerships, and it's bad when I could walk in and talk more about your product than you could tell me about. Like if I walk in and say, well, how does the hatch open up? Like when we were looking at pilots years ago, the sales guy didn't know how the rear window hatch opened. And then you expect me to buy something from you. I don't get that when you're a salesperson. If you're not selling nothing, you need to be, doing research on the product you're selling, so that when people are asking you about it, they could you could talk to them in confidence. Like why sell something you're not confident in as far as like product knowledge or whatever. So just a terrible experience. Like people aren't out there doing their research. They're not as far as like sales go and stuff like that. They're not. We went to a dealership, and the dude, like, once we kind of told him that we're just looking, blah, 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 he totally pawned us off on somebody else and didn't want to talk to us anymore. We had a gang of questions because we were looking at Ford F-150s or F-250s and didn't know anything about any of these Ford trucks because we're always like, Toyota. And so we had a bunch of questions. And the guy, as soon as he found out we were just looking, he disregarded us. We never went back to that dealership again based on that alone. And then we went to another Ford dealership, and the guy, as soon as we told him that, he's like, okay, what can I show you? I'm dealing with a couple customers. Let me get back to you. And I actually even yelped him and said, hey, we came in, told him that we weren't going to buy anything, but he treated us like $1 million. So I think customer experience is also what drives people to go online shopping. Like if I go shopping and there's big crowds and whatever, and I get irritated with the salesperson, or there's nobody around to help me out, then yeah, of course I'm not going to go. I can find it, excuse me, I can find it more convenient going somewhere else. And I'm sure that's a story that a lot of you have, and that's why a lot of us use Amazon or whatever you use to buy your products, Ebates or eBay or whatever, or maybe even that store, but just buying it online versus going into the store and buying it because you had a terrible customer service experience, and you'd rather just not deal with the people there. So that's my personal take on it. And, my advice, and as being a parent, as I related, basic customer service skills do come from basic manners. Just talking to people, entering rooms, announcing yourself, saying hi to everybody in the room. You even get invited to somebody's house for a party. You go to the person who owns the house that's hosting the location, and you let them, hey, thank you for hosting. Thank you for the invite. You have a beautiful home. Here goes a bottle of wine. You don't just walk in and just, go into the refrigerator without saying hi to anybody. So, I would like to hear from you. Like, where do you guys think today's customer service, or share some of your customer service experience that are bad, or possibly some good ones. But I think a lot of brick and mortar businesses are suffering, especially like the mom and pop shops that don't have a major brand backing behind them. I think they suffer from terrible customer service, and I think that companies need to reinvest into training customer service. I think as parents, we need to invest into our children about basic etiquette. Being able to look somebody in the eye, give them a good strong handshake, be confident when dealing with people, again, being courteous, holding doors open, for people, just some of the basic stuff. And, if somebody, I'll tell you right now, I'll walk into an establishment and get a really good customer service thing, and I'll check in on Yelp. I'll give them a good review. It'll make me come back. There's a bunch of places that we have gone to in town that have great customer service. One, I'll have to say, we go to this pho place, and they just treat us like family. Their food is good, mind you, and but the food is good, the service is good. Every time we walk in there, if it's busy or not, the service is on point. The food takes a little longer. They're always apologetic. They're always walking around, making sure we're okay. So it makes the experience worth it. Now, I will say that I have to do a shout out on this one, that I had a really excellent customer service experience because I worked in fast food before. And I was at the Habit Grill, or I don't know if wherever you're listening to you have one of these, but it's like a Five Guys or In-N-Out or something like that. But it's called the Habit, and it's a burger place. And, a lot of places I'll say, okay, this is what I want to order. And they'll be like, oh, well, we don't have that, or we can't make it this way, or whatever. So I go in there, and if you're familiar with the Habit, I ordered a double char Swiss mushroom lettuce wrap, right? And then I tell her, can you take this and take that or whatever, give her the whole custom order. So she goes, okay. She's like punching in some keys or whatever. And she was like, okay, so just to give you a heads up, we actually do not have a double char, right? A double char Swiss mushroom burger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge you for a double char, make it lettuce wrapped, take away the mayonnaise, add the garlic aioli, add the mushrooms, add the Swiss, and basically it is going to be exactly what you want. So I thought that was great. That was out of the box thinking. Quickly, instead of saying, oh, well, we don't have that, let me see if I can make it. Like, she automatically made it. And then, because I was going to look on the receipt and be like, what the hell is all this? She explained it to me. And she made what I want happen. So, of course, I automatically told her, I was like, you're awesome for that. Like, not too many places would be able to do that or figure that out or willing to put in that extra amount of work. So I think I actually even have to Yelp her because I really thought that was awesome, especially from our young adults out there that, in the digital day and age, a lot of people don't know how to deal with, customer service or dealing with people. And I was very impressed that she was able to take what I wanted, see what she was working with, and made both of those things happen. This is what we have, this is what you wanted, so I'm going to make some changes to something that we have and give you exactly what you want. I thought it was awesome. And it might be something as simple as a cheeseburger or whatever, but it took creativity and it took fast thinking. And she did it. And I actually ordered the wrong thing, but what I ordered is what she made for me. So I thought that was a great customer service experience, and I'll obviously be going back to the Habit because we really like their food. But, there are those little glimpses of it, but more often than not, we're seeing a lot of bad customer service. So, that's basically it. That's basically my topic for today, just because we've had a slew of just terrible customer service. And what I would like to do is, again, I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the current state of customer service? If you guys go out, or like, why do you guys shop online or anything like that? And then, of course, if you have any good positive ones, I'd love to hear those. And where was it at? And, what happened? Did somebody help you purchase the car that you wanted, or maybe the cell phone that you wanted, or were able to help you order some shoes online that you couldn't get in store? Or, shout out those people too. So anyway, that's basically all the time we have for today's episode. But before, again, we end the episode, I'd like for you to, first of all, to say thank you for taking time out to listen to the podcast. Again, I have noticed like all my analytics, each and every episode previous to this one has been 15 and up or 14 and up at least as far as the listens go. So I do appreciate all of you guys that are taking your time out to listen. Obviously, if you are on the Anchor FM app, I just found out that they got bought by Spotify, so there may be some changes coming to the podcast based upon that. But until then, we'll just kind of keep rolling with what we got. Also, again, you can hit me up on Twitter at Sean Flack. You can also hit me up on Facebook. That's at Sean Flack 2.0. You can find the Dad's Life podcast group on Facebook if you wanted to make some comments there. And then, of course, hit me on Twitter. I'm always checking it or whatever. Always on to get alerts for Twitter a lot. So if you want to hit me directly, you can follow me there, tag me there, ask me questions there, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And then, of course, last but not least, we have the website at SeanFlack.com. It's going to have links to the show you're listening to and also the other 2 projects that I'm working on, which are obviously three projects, because the website in itself is a blog page and it has links to the Practical Pivot Show on YouTube and also my Sean Flack 2.0 YouTube page that sporadically has some stuff coming out on it. Again, thank you for listening, and hopefully as you're listening to this, you're having a great week. I wish you guys to have a great week coming up, and that's basically it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all the support. Any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts, again, don't forget to hit me on any of those ways, preferably Twitter, because I always, for some reason, have some kind of notification on that. All right, so have a good evening, have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.